Hello, my crafty friends. Well, today I have another fun card making technique that I want to share with you. And I have two different ways you can use this technique in your card making. Hi, it's Lynn Dunn from Stamptastic Designs. Thanks so much for joining me today. In this episode of Stamptastic TV, I have two different ways you can use the Emboss Resist technique in your card making. Now, this is a super fun technique and it's very simple to do. So I'm going to show you how to use this technique with a brand new bundle. So the bundle is called Sparkling Snowflakes and it has a stamp set. And the cool thing about this stamp set is there are detailed images in here, and then there are overlay images or solid images which coordinate with the three different snowflakes that are in this particular stamp set. Now for this technique, we are only going to use the detailed images. But if you are looking for other ways to use this particular bundle, then I put the link to my blog in the description below this video, and you can get many, many other card ideas. Now this particular bundle comes with a coordinating punch. So the punch is actually a tag topper, and it is a snowflake. So you can make a cute little tag, or you can make some really fun little focal points for your card. So you can see here that I used this tag topper in a variety of different ways in my card making. Okay, so first let's talk about the technique of Emboss Resist. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of heat embossing. So you can see that I have the little snowflakes embossed on here in white. And so then we're gonna, after we heat emboss it, we are going to use a blending brush to just add some color. So what you will need is a little container of white embossing powder. So that's what I'm using for the Emboss Resist technique. Of course, you will also need to choose your ink color. So for this particular card, I am using Azure Afternoon, and I'll be using a little blending brush to add the color. You will also need some Versamark, so we will be using Versamark to do our stamping of the snowflakes. And then the last thing you need is some type of heat tool. So I have one of Stampin' Up's old heat tools. They have a newer version out now. All right, so let's get started with this technique. All right, so we are going to do some embossing with white embossing powder, and we're going to do it on a piece of white cardstock. So it's embossing white on white. So this cardstock piece I actually have cut at 3 3/4 inches by 4 3/4 inches. You can use any size that you want to. So we're going to start out with Versamark, and Versamark is really just going to help us stamp all the images, and this is a sticky kind of substance that enables that white embossing powder to stick to it. And then once we get the white embossing powder on there, then we will heat the image to set it. So I'm going to start out with the 3 different snowflakes. So I have all the detailed images here. And so you ink it up with the Versamark, and then you just stamp it on your white cardstock. So as I go along here, we are going to probably have to add some white embossing powder so that I can see my images. So when you're doing this white on white technique, sometimes it's hard to see where you stamped. So I'm going to add just some white embossing powder here, just so that I can kind of see where I've stamped already. So you can kind of see the 3 images going right across. So let's continue. We'll just add a few more images. And I'm just going to add them right around these images that I have here. All right, let's add some more embossing powder and see where we're at. And as you can see, I like to generously add some embossing powder just to make sure that I have everything covered. And then if there are any stray marks, I see some stray marks here, you can just take like a little paintbrush and just wipe those off. There's also an embossing kit that Stampin' Up has. It's called an Embossing Additions Kit. And it has like an embossing buddy and a little tray and things like that that you can use for this technique. All right, I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to heat to set the image. So as I heat this image, this embossing powder is going to turn from like a gray color to a shiny white. Okay, so I have finished the heating, you know, to set the embossing powder. So you can kind of see the shininess of the snowflakes in the background here on this white cardstock. So basically you just stamp with the Versamark, you sprinkle your embossing powder on, then you tap off any excess powder, and then you just use that heat tool to set it. So once you have the image all set, then you are ready to do the blending with the ink color. So we are going to be using the Azure Afternoon and a little blending brush. So I have the smaller size blending brush. There are larger sizes, so it's really a matter of preference if you want to use the large one or a smaller one. So I choose to use the smaller one just because it's a little easier to handle. I find it's a little easier to handle. So you want to have some scrap paper down like I have here, and you just want to kind of practice a little bit on your scrap paper just to kind of get the hang of it. So you don't want a big swirl like that. You just want it to go on nice and soft. I always start in the center of the snowflake or whatever image I have stamped, and then I just kind of work my way out. That way, if I do have like a swirl like this, then you can't see it because it's within the snowflake. So that's just my little technique. I just kind of go off and then I go on, and then I move over to the next snowflake. So you can see how beautiful that gets as you blend this and add some ink color. So we're just going to do this with all the snowflakes. I'm just going to be really just adding the ink directly to the snowflakes and then just going a little bit around them, kind of connecting them a little bit, I guess. So notice how as I do this blending that the ink is going in between that heat embossed image. So that is the resist. So the ink basically does not go on the embossing. The embossing stays white, so the ink goes all in between the heat embossed image. So it is resisting the image. It's resisting that white embossing powder, and it's going in between everything else. So that's why it's called Emboss Resist. All right, so that's what it looks like. It just turns out really cool, and I just love the blue with the snowflakes. Just a really pretty color. So this is the card that I created with this style of embossing. Just a very simple card idea. You can get all the details for creating this card by clicking on the link featured in the description below this video. All right, the second way that you can use this emboss resist technique in your card making is simply to add multiple colors. So with the first card, I added just that Azure Afternoon, but this time we're going to add some additional colors. Okay, so this time I went ahead and I did all the embossing already, so you can see the snowflakes are on here. So I started with just a slightly larger piece of cardstock this time. This is a 3 3/4 by 5 inch piece. And this time we are going to add 3 different colors. So I'm using Azure Afternoon, Fresh Freesia, and Pool Party. So I like to start with the one in the middle. So I'm going to add it right down the middle. We're going to start with the Fresh Freesia. And like I said, I like to go in the middle first and just kind of go down the middle with my middle color and then fill in the sides. So that's what I'm going to do. So let me get this on here and then we'll bring in one of the blues. All right, so let's bring in Azure Afternoon, and we will start over on this side and we'll bring it in over here. And you basically just bring it in the same way that I showed you on the other card, and you bring it up to the other color. Now I'm just kind of going straight down with my colors, but you can go diagonal, you can add a little bit here, a little bit there, however you want to do it. There's so many different ways that you can use multiple colors, but I thought I would just kind of make it a little bit simple here and just show you the technique and how you can add different colors. So this is the pool party. So pool party is more like a greenish blue. So we'll pull this in over here. Now the cool thing about this technique is that you can use it with, of course, like snowflakes like this, but you could also stamp your greeting right in the center. So just put your snowflakes on the outside and stamp the greeting with the Versamark in the center, and then sponge all the way around it, and you have your card all set to go. All right, so that's the basic concept for the second way that you can use this, is just play around with multiple colors. All right, and then this is the card that I put together. So I added all of those colors, and then I just used that tag topper to create some little end pieces. So you can get the tutorial for this in the description, again, with this video. And here's what it looks like with just one color. So here are these two cards with just one color. This is one color and the multiple colors, same exact layout. I just added additional colors on this card. And then here's the first card that I shared, and then here is what it looks like with multiple colors. So again, it's the same layout as this card. It's just that I used 3 colors here and just 1 here. Okay, so there you go. Now you have 2 different ways to use the emboss resist technique in your card making. And if you enjoyed these card ideas, feel free to download the printable tutorial. You can find the link in the description below this video. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by liking it and sharing it with your friends. And leave me a comment below to let me know what you enjoyed most about the video and the cards shared here today. Have a fun and creative day, my friends. Take care.